Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Baltimore Presents. I'm Baltimore, and I am here today to talk to you about House of M. Yeah, House of M, the 2005 event series by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Olivier Coipel. And just to, get the pretense out there, I loved it. I thought it was great. I read it, maybe like twice a year. No joke, because it's actually really, really good. I am a sucker for alternate universe stories, so it was right up my alley. Um, so let me tell you about this. House of M is an alternate universe take on uh, the Marvel universe, basically, and it started out as a crossover between New Avengers and Astonishing X-Men. So it took basically that cast, and really kind of went out with it. So this was in 2005. And Brian Michael Bendis really, he really changed Marvel Universe significantly in ways that we're still feeling today, and it's incredible. To be honest, to have someone a writer long term on a comic series and really kind of shaping the Marvel Universe. So it's really, really cool. But basically, it boils down to this. At the end of Avengers Disassembled, we have the Avengers in shambles. Scarlet Witch's mental issues, and she's a breakdown, and she is now in Genosha with her father, Magneto, and Professor Xavier, who they're both trying to restore her, help her, trying to figure out what exactly is going on with her and how to help her and fix her. At the same time, you have the Avengers in Avenger Tower meeting with the X-Men and trying to decide what are we going to do with Wanda. And you have Emma Frost, you have Wolverine, and they're saying that she's got to die. She's going to keep messing things up and she can't control herself and it's going to continue to happen. And so they decide that they're going to try to solve the problem. They're going to go to Genosha and do something about it. Well, little did they know that her mutant twin speedster brother was there in New York when they were talking about it, zips on back to Genosha and tells Magneto that the Avengers are going to come, the Avengers and the X-Men are going to come and kill Wanda, your daughter. And Magneto basically says, what do you want me to do? And it's this crazy, crazy moment. And there are things, happens before this, and the Avengers come and the X-Men come and they say, where's Wanda? And Professor X leads them to, where he's been taking care of her, and her room is empty. And then all of a sudden a big flash of white light happens and they're changed, and significantly. And basically what happens is Quicksilver manipulated his sister and saying, if you don't give people their wishes, if you don't make them happy, then they're going to come kill you. And so he manipulated her into granting everybody their kind of wish, basically, and changing the world with her reality manipulating powers. And so she, used Professor X and his abilities as a telepath to kind of figure out what people wanted and then gave it to them. And, the person who gets the most out of this, Magneto, he gets his own island nation of Genosha. He gets mutants and ascendancy. They're basically on the way to surpass humans on the world. And, it's a crazy, crazy setup. He has basically set up a monarchy, the House of Magnus, which is where the name comes from. And so he's really, really in power, and it's kind of cool. It's really neat to see. It was a neat concept to see it, and then to kind of see how it kind of plays out over the 8 issues. It was really, really fascinating, and they've revisited House of M several times before, and not as successfully as I would have liked to. But it is one of the best-selling titles, and they keep reissuing it because people really enjoy it, as they should. but it was really really fascinating. So you have all the Avengers and all the X-Men, and basically everyone is being basically given what they want. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is married to Gwen Stacy, so he gets his wish, and that's really kind of wow, fascinating, because in the unmerged reality, he's married to Mary Jane. So his wish here is to be with Gwen Stacy. So that's kind of a interesting wrinkle there. You have Cyclops and Emma, who are married. You have Doctor Strange, who's now a psychologist. Captain Marvel becomes the hero that she always wants to be, the best of the best. This is Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. And then you have Wolverine remembering everything. And I mean everything. Everything that he has been mind wiped, forgotten about, you know, worked over, he remembers it all. And that takes him on a really interesting path for the next, 5, 6 years, where he's kind of going through all of his restored memories. And it's really kind of cool because for the most part, Wolverine was a blank slate, and writers would come in and say, "Oh no, this is what happened," and a new writer would come in and say, "Oh no, this is what happened." But now we have a Wolverine who remembers everything and kind of knows the entirety of his life. And it's fascinating because he knows that this world is a lie. He knows and remembers the real Marvel universe. So he's leaves the Red Guard, which are the elite force for Magneto, which include Mystique, and it includes Rogue and some more mutants that are of higher echelon as a team. And he finds the Human Resistance, which is led by Luke Cage. And so he joins them, and just a few days before, the MacGuffin of the event, Layla Miller, who's a 13-year-old precocious little mutant, has opened his eyes and the other members of that group to kind of realize what's going on and that things are not right, and they have to figure out what's going on. And of course, at this point, they all believe House of M, House of Magnus, it's Magneto's fault. He's the one behind this. And so that's where they're directing all of their energy and venom and anger towards, manipulating them for whatever reason, whether it was Scarlet Witch or whatever. And they don't know what's going on. They don't know why it happened. They don't know where Professor X is. They don't know why the X-Men aren't really there. And in this world, Magneto is the leader. He's the hero of the mutant race, which is something he's always wanted, which is what Wanda gave to him. So it's really, really powerful, story, because you have these characters who, for so long, have been trying for things and fighting for all these, years, and to be given what they wanted. That's really fascinating, really interesting, and it has a lot of ramifications. So basically, Wolverine is restored. He understands what's going on, and he goes out and gets Emma, and he gets Cyclops, he gets Doctor Strange, and some of the other heroes to kind of be woken up, basically, by Layla, and realize that, okay, we got to figure this out. We have to go to Genosha. We have to stop Magneto from doing this, and that's what they do. And then we have, we find out that, Quicksilver is sort of behind all of this, and it's a really, the Wanda, Pietro, Magneto, and to kind of a lesser extent, Lorna Polaris dynamic. Their family dynamic is so messed up and so tragic and fascinating and Shakespearean and epic that there's so many layers to it. It's really, really interesting. And, they've all flirted with the bad and the good sides, and they've been both. So it's, you see a lot of that in their inner struggle. So it's really, really great to see as a fan, to read it and enjoy the story. And Brian did a great job with this. And, of course, the artwork is amazing. It's beautiful. It's crisp. It's just gorgeous. So now you have all the heroes coming into this Genosha and that big, huge knockdown fight with Magneto. And at the same time, you find out that Hawkeye is alive. Yeah. So he died in Avengers Disassembled, and now in this reality altered world, he's alive. And basically, he goes and once he realizes what happened to him, and he really lived his death, his real death, he goes and tracks down Wanda and basically shoots an arrow at her and is so upset and so just filled with emotion about what happened. You know, this was his teammate, his friend, his someone who's worked with for so long and confided with and had a relationship with, and there's so much history between them. And she died. She let him die. She killed him, and now she brought him back. And so there's this great, emotion that's happening. This great scene that they have together. And basically, her son wipes him away again. The son that she creates basically says stop, and takes him out of the equation again. So he's gone again. Not only killed in the real world, now he's killed in House of M world, and it's just such a tragic moment. Like, wow, that's harsh. And then we find out that it's actually Quicksilver that's behind this, and Magneto finds this out, and he is furious, and he basically pummels his son almost to death. And then Wanda appears and says, "Look what you've done to us, Daddy. We're freaks because of you." And she then whispers the three words that changed the Marvel universe. She says, "No more mutants," and she means it. And she casts a spell, basically decimating the mutant population and leaving only about 200 or so mutants left in the world. And it's tragic, and it's far-reaching, and it is incredible. She wipes out her brother's powers, Professor X's powers, Magneto's powers, Polaris's powers. All these people's abilities are wiped out, and it's just incredible. And the only people who are saved are basically the people who Stephen Strange is able to kind of cast a counter spell to stop it from happening. And that also affects their memories too, so only a few people kind of remember what actually happened in House of M. But it is a remarkable story, and so much fun and interesting to see the different kind of takes on characters that you know and love, and kind of see them in a different light. I always love that. Kind of like, oh, well, what happened to make them different this time, and what kind of event changed them. So that's really, really cool. So this event has so much happening, and it has a lot of ramifications for all the characters going forward. You have, the decimation of the mutant population, and that tragedy. So you have a lot of main characters that you know and love lost their mutant powers. Jubilee, Chamber, Danny Moonstar, the Blob. It's pretty incredible to think about all the ramifications for it. And then you have, power doesn't just go away, so to speak. So all the powers that were stolen are kind of collected together, and they see it on a world map, on a global map, and they see all these powers kind of coming together, and there is a force called the Collective who collects all the mutant powers that have been, taken away, and basically starts walking from Alaska or whatever through Canada, and basically kills Alpha Flight on its way there, all the members, which is a tragedy. Like, why do you have to kill my Alpha Flight? And then they go all the way to New York to fight the Avengers and kind of figure out what's going on. And it's a big, huge fight between that, which is interesting. The Shadow King comes back because of this reality warping. You have Onslaught is reborn because of this reality warping. So bad things are happening because of this, Wanda. And then in a fun little bright spot, we get Illyana returned to us. Illyana Rasputin, which is the sister of Colossus, who was Well, she has a convoluted story, but she's basically a demon sorceress, teenage demon sorceress who was basically succumbed to the legacy virus, which was um, a affected only mutants, and she died because of all the reality manipulating that is going on. And Ileana comes back from limbo, from the demon sorceress that she was created. She comes back to the X-Men, and it's kind of fun because now you get almost all the new mutants back together again, and it's kind of cool. There's a quest for magic, um, so it's pretty fascinating, and I love that part. Um, but you have a lot of ramifications. You know, once the people are restored, you have Professor X missing. We don't know what happened to him, and that's gonna, you know, come into later effect with the Deadly Genesis. Um, but for for a miniseries that's only 8 issues, this is a story that had so much happen, and it was so good. And you must read it. If you've not read it yet, you have to go read it. It's really beautiful. It's really thrilling. I highly suggest it. You can get trade paperbacks anywhere. So, what did you think of it? Did you read House of M? How was it for you? Were you as impressed with it as I was? Did you like it as much? And if not, tell me why, or tell me your favorite parts, and we can kind of have a conversation going. So comment, like, share, subscribe, and I will come back to you again with some more comic goodness. But until then, it's all geek to us. I'll see you soon.